I know you're rolling your eyes at the title, but please stick with us on this. We are not going to tell you how to do emails. That's not what today's about. We're going to ask a lot of critical questions and just spur some great thought on how you manage your mailroom. Did you know we're mailroom managers? Stick around. We're going to have some fun with this. Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason, SimpleBiz360 podcast, SimpleBiz360, the book. And you can find our home on SimpleBiz360.com and everything else social media-wise. You guessed it, SimpleBiz360, to beat that thing into the ground, right? Anyway, thanks for staying with us today. We're coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, episode 127. We've never missed a week since mid-October 2019. Coming to you from Half Coast Studios. Great guys. We have Matt Parker on the boards today. And we are going to have just a really great show for you on tap. We're going to read a lot of things today. But before I do that, this may be a great episode if you're a listener or if you want to switch to listening. It really is. It's going to be a super one for any of the 28 listening platforms that we're on. We'd love, if we earned a 5-star review, we'd love you to give that review at the end when you're done listening to it. It helps us. It helps our algorithms and our company as well. So that would be awesome. If not, YouTube, you can always subscribe on YouTube as well and follow us. That simply means you're going to get notified every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. when a new episode's out. And we plan on being better than the mail service. We don't want to miss a week, right? We're having fun, so why miss one? So, at any rate, today we're going to have some really in-depth look at the modern day mailroom, which I called it. And think about it. Decades and decades ago, hundreds of years ago, what we're doing now on email back then was a memo or letter. So we're managing a process that has an equivalency to the memo and letter of old. And those, in my opinion, were written with great diligence, great care. There were many business professionals that just did their utmost to make sure they wordsmithed it correctly. They pondered the structure of sentences and paragraphs, and things had to really be refined before they released that. And I just think today, like so many things, we're immersed in this casual environment, this casual workplace. And I think that the management of these modern day letters and memos has gotten, for a better lack of terms, lazy. I think we see a lot of laziness. We see a lot of poor content. We see a lot of opportunities to be perception builders in what we say, but unfortunately, we see a lot of perception breakers in how we casually go about releasing this company correspondence, if you will. We're kind of sloppy at stewardship in a lot of ways. And I think I've seen and I've witnessed and I've been part of tons of margin erosion, meaning, you thought you were selling something for 12, it cost you 8, and you were making $4 on it. Things got messed up. You didn't get the right approvals, timelines, you got chargebacks, and the next thing you know, you're making $1.33 instead of $4. So we've seen a lot of that due to this attitude and approach with email. So, I'm not going to tell the viewers or listeners or anyone how to write an email. That's not the art of today's session. Today is really all about asking critical questions. And I'm going to read these questions because I took a lot of time thinking about this episode because it's been something that's near and dear to me. So that's its design, and that's how we're going to approach it. So again, do you even have a management approach to processing emails? I mean, have you ever really thought about it? What are your personal operating procedures, your POPs? You ever have a POP? Anybody ever talk to you about POPs? Personal operating procedures. How do you do things? Can we use POPs with emails? What about the approaches for internal versus external? So, your teammates, your company, your intercompany emails versus your vendor, suppliers, and your customers even, right? Do you have different mindset processing associates and intercompany email than you do processing emails of vendors, suppliers, or customers? Did you ever consider the acronym ARPA? Do you know what that means? Just a simple way to kind of look at each one of our mail rooms and manage the mail process. So it's author, it's receiver, it's passenger, and it's administrator. So here we are all of a sudden, we are managing the mailroom, complete with all those four functions. So, when you look at how you go about managing this whole ball of wax, I just say break it down into four segments. You're either an author, you're a recipient, you're letting passengers go for the ride on this exchange, and then you have to be the administrator of what happens once you have all this information. And so if you kind of think of it that way, it's a different way. So let's take the sender, right? So the author, in essence. What are your personal operating procedures for being the author? Have you ever thought about it? Spend some time. Stillness, right? What Darcy said, thoughtfully fit. There's a lot of stillness. I've advocated going away to a cabin and just get still. Do you test drive your drafts by looking through the lens of the eventual receiver? Do you actually kind of test the waters and say, hey, what would it be like if I received this email? Maybe I got to send it to a friend. Maybe I have to send it to a family member if it's that important. But, what does it feel like looking through that lens? Are you careful when it comes to the word selection? Are you a wordsmith about it? Are you diligent about that? Do you frame an email in any way? Do you use courtesy, purpose, action? Courtesy, purpose, action, that's the framework. It makes it easy, right? What's my call to action? I'm just going to frame this up. And it's CPA, courtesy, purpose, action. Or any other you have. I'm sure people have other structures they use, other acronyms and ways to do it. Do you utilize subject header integrity? Do you pay a lot of attention to what goes in that subject? Or is that kind of a casual, lazy, kind of just, willy-nilly process for you? Do you diligently compartmentalize your to and your copy recipients? Do you really look at that? Do you really think about who's going in the to bucket, who's going into the copy, the CC? Sometimes some people don't. I've run into them. So I'm just asking the question. Do you use snow globing before you send big and delicate emails? Remember, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. Just kind of let the snow globe, let the snow settle, hit the ground. Then you get a little sunlight. Remember that sunlight in on the landscape, and you can see the landscape a little more clearly and get an idea. Hey, do I really want to push this send button on this puppy? So do you avoid writing tough emails when you're tired? Are you the kind of person that writes those really difficult emails at 4:30 in the afternoon when you got to be out the door at 5 to go pick up the kids? I don't know. Is that right? When you're tired, 10 o'clock at night after the kids are in bed, you've had a long day, you've been at the office since 6. Is that the right time? Is your focus on respecting your time or the time of your recipient? I kind of say if your focus, your main goal is to conserve your time and streamline your efforts, I just might say, think about switching that around and just, kind of inverting that and putting the customer's time, respect for time on top of the pyramid and, you're on the bottom, and see if it changes things. I don't know. Is your content clear and easy to understand? Now, the wall graphics hanging behind us is the BCN format challenge for those of you who are listening and not viewing. And basically what that just says is, hey, BCN is the format challenge. Brief, clear, number. Be brief, be clear, number your things, your questions, your items, whatever you want. If you got 7 things you want them to give you feedback on, I'd say put it in the subject of the email, 7 pieces of information requiring feedback, asking for feedback on 7 questions, whatever. So, that's kind of, as the author, those are just some things to think about. If you've never given it thought, think about it. I'm going to actually do a blog on this as well, and you may want to look at SimpleBiz360 for the blogs. They always show up on the homepage at the very bottom, or we have a blog section, and I'm going to make sure those go on there, and you'll see this, I guess, in its totality in writing too. So now let's look at the receiver, right? So the author and now the receiver part of ARPA. So the receiver, what POPs do you use for reading emails? Again, you're managing the mailroom. So you've got a certain set of procedures for being the author, and you got a certain set of procedures for being the receiver. Do you read within certain time frames? Do you read before sundown? Do you read within 24 hours? What's your set of expectations you send your community of customers and internal teammates and associates? What's the time frame on the expectation for you to respond? Do you read the entire email? I'm telling you, this is the truth. One of my buddies became an executive with a company. It's a European company, and all the other executives forewarned him, said, hey, listen, the CEO, that's who you report to. Just beware. The CEO only responds to one sentence in an email. He never reads past the second sentence. I mean, my blood boiled. I'm like, what? I mean, I've been on the executive team of companies before, and that would not be tolerated. I'm sorry. So I don't know who lets him get away with this, or her, whoever the CEO is. But literally, I asked my buddy, I said, isn't this frustrating? I mean, does it really happen that way? He goes, oh, yes, it definitely happens that way. It's so aggravating. So this guy, you can't ask more than one question. You can't even be courteous. You can't even frame an email, courtesy, purpose, action. You got to get right to the point. First sentence, ask a question. It comes off rude, abrasive, harsh. And this person is putting all these company executives and all these company personnel into that position. Oh, do things roll downhill? Do you lead by example? How many people are learning these bad behaviors? If I was a board member and I knew this was going on, I'm sorry. This person gets written up. This person gets a warning. That is not tolerable in my book. That's just garbage. But it happens. So, do you read the entire email? Make sure you read it. There's a lot in there sometimes, right? Do you read the material, including the attachments? And in the attachments, are you opening up all the different, let's say it's an Excel attachment. Look at the tabs. Are there 4 tabs? Take a look at the 4 tabs. Are you looking at each one of those tabs? Are you looking at the full scope? In other words, you're opening an attachment, but if it's 27 pages now, that's a long one to read, but, are you looking at the full scope of it? I mean, you're opening it, but again, there's this whole necessity in business, especially to avoid margin erosion. Look at the whole thing, right? And read the whole thing. What POPs are you using for responding, right? So you're reading, right? But now a receiver also has the job of switching back to the author, right? So you've received something, it's asking you for your input, for your feedback. So now you've got to jump back to the author portion of it. So, what's your little POP there for how you convert that reading and back into a sent email? What about acknowledging email receipts? Are you a non-confirmer or are you a confirmer? Now, I talked to a gentleman the other day watching the Super Bowl. We were at a party, and he said, nope, I'm not a confirmer. I either delegate or I do this. Some I confirm, but no, I'm too busy. I get too many inter-department emails, inter-company emails. I can't afford to do that. So you just have to pretty much know that I read it. Now, in all fairness, a lot of times even dealing here at Half Coast Studios, I wouldn't call them confirmers. They don't always confirm the emails I send, but they always get back to me. I think, honestly, I am thinking just the other day, I did a resend email. I see Matt looking at me. I did a resend email. I have to say that's the first one I've sent since I've been dealing with them September 2019. So they're not confirmers that, hey, I got it working on it, Jeff, but they're executors. They execute. They follow through. They do what they need to do. So I've kind of learned, hey, I'm not always, just because I like to give confirmations out, just because that's my druther, if you will. I don't want to impose that on someone else if they're delivering the goods, and these guys deliver the goods. So we just had one that fell through the cracks, and so it was the first time. So, but that's a question. Ask yourself: are you a confirmer or a non-confirmer? If you are a non-confirmer, did you ever consider the potential fallout? Have you ever run into some issues and sticky stuff and kind of backed away from the situation, kind of gone up a little bit, maybe even at 5,000 feet, kind of looked it over? And have you ever come to the conclusion that, wow, gosh, I don't think I've really ever let them know we were doing all these things. I wonder if the onus is on me. I think maybe I am the one that's at fault here. Maybe I owe them an apology. Maybe I should change the way I go about doing things. So again, it's just some things to think about, to toss out there and review on your own. Do you address every question or variable that's tucked inside the email? Now, a lot of people write emails in a very kind of long-winded format, and you might get a paragraph, and it's just, there's all kinds of questions in this long run-on paragraph. and it might be, it might be 1,200 words. And your job as the receiver is to figure out how many questions are tucked in there and try to, if you want to try to streamline things, and protect your margin, protect your job completion, your dates, your expectations, you need to kind of figure out, okay, I really didn't like the way this person wrote this email. I wish they would have listed the questions, but nonetheless, I see that there's 8 of them in. You know what I do? I go, hey, see below in red, with 4 symbols in front of it, and boom. Then I number the questions I find. So I break their paragraph apart and I number things. And then I go, here are my 9 responses. Person's like, wow, I had 9 questions in there. I didn't know that, But they did. They had 9 questions in that long run-on paragraph, 1,200 words. So that's what I do. Just saying again, throwing it out there. Do you address every question? Are you demonstrating professional stewardship with the way you respond? Again, companies, intercompany, the teammates, the associates you have. You're building perceptions or you're breaking perceptions with the way you do things. Are they the kind that say, this guy Mason's a great teammate. He responds to everything. He's timely, and he's a professional steward of this piece of information I gave him. He's doing the right things with it on a timely basis. I like the way this guy works. Or as a customer saying, hey, this guy's a professional. This girl's a professional steward of the money I'm giving him. I want to give him, next time I go to buy this, I don't want to go out there to buy it. I want to come back to this person because Jennifer just does a great job on handling it. Bob does an excellent job on his stewardship of my information. So again, just some things to ask. Now the passenger is kind of fun, right? So we're ARPA, right? Author, receiver. Now the passenger. Yeah, passengers, man, they're just going for the ride. Dude, you just stuck me in a car and I'm going for the ride. I'm seatbelted in. I don't really want to interface. It's not my need to interface, right? I'm just looking at the sights, man. So on the passenger end, what are your expectations for passengers? Are they truly those people that you put in the copy? Are they just really to have? Are you being courteous in a way by letting them in on it to see what's going on, or are you one of these that want to make sure everybody and their brother knows you did it, and so you put 19 people on it, and they're going, oh my gosh, this is such garbage. Why am I seeing this? You got to kind of think about what are your expectations with the passengers. I love to include them if it's a courteous thing or if they need to know. Maybe they have a little branch of responsibility in this situation, a little, nugget of responsibility that this information might help their little nugget of responsibility. They don't have to do anything, but it could help. So again, these people aren't expected to be doers. They're just there on the ride. So do you ever misplace doers in the carbon copy section? So again, if you really kind of pay attention, we've all done it. I think I have, and just make sure you put in the right doers. You got somebody you need some action from in the 2, or if it's critical to them and their team, and the passengers are the passengers. Make sure that those incorrect assignments don't intentionally foster any delays or confusion. Do you include essential passengers only? I work for a company, and just any email I send, 8 people end up getting dragged into the response. And I see responses from emails to people. I don't even know who they are. So, I sometimes you just, you got to go for the ride and you don't do anything. You don't say anything. Sometimes they feel like, wow, if Jeff could see this information, it might help him in another similar situation. That's kind of the way I look at it. I think that's what they're really saying by including me in the car. But nonetheless, they buckled me up and took me on the ride. But if you include non-essential passengers, do you tell them why they're included? There you go. Hey, Jeff, copied you on this just in case, you think this might help you with how you deal with XYZ customer, or this might help you on the project you're starting next week. I don't know. So just tell them why. Man, people love to know why. Kids, right? Remember that phase in kids? Why? Yeah, customers want to know why. They do. People, intercompany associates want to know why. So how do you handle drawing a passenger into the delegation or the to process, or do they just stay CC? So let's say, you get something, all of a sudden the questions that you're answering, you realize, hey, there's a couple people that were copied on this that really need to be doers on this. Then what do you do? Well, do you have policy for that or procedure. I always put them, I take them off the carbon copy and I put them in the 2. And then if I'm responding to the person who wrote it, I might say, Jennifer, comma, new paragraph, blah, 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 blah. Boom. Thanks so much. Boom. Then I end. Then I go, Matt, comma, new paragraph. And then I highlight Matt's name, maybe in a different color. So it's black there, it's blue here. And so Matt knows, I'm on there, babe. I'm not a passenger anymore. I'm being asked to be a doer. And so this way they see it. So that's what I do sometimes. At any rate, just again, how do you handle that? What do you do? Do you do anything? Do you have a policy or program or set of procedures for that? Now, the administrator is the interesting thing. I think this is really where a lot of us, after all, some of us have administrative skills, some of us don't. And so now we're asked to be an administrator, whether we like it or not, because guess what? The mailroom just came to our door, 22, 23 years ago? Most of us started getting Outlook or variations where we have, compartmentalization, filing cabinets, and we're managing the mailroom. So now we're administrators too. So what do? What are your POPs you utilize as the manager of your mailroom? Are you a touch things once business person? So, you look at something, you read it, your highlight goes off if you're using Outlook, right? Your highlight goes off of that email. So it's kind of telling you, hey, you read this puppy, right? Just a quick glance if you've got it set up that way. So you go, hey, I read it, everything's read. Now, you had 9 questions in that third email that unhighlighted. So it looks like to your eyeballs, you've read it. Now you're busy, right? You get 120 emails a day. You've got 3,700 emails in your inbox or 5,900. You took care of it, right? Then a week later, you find out, hey, we're still waiting for your feedback on that, Jeff. Oh, gosh, dang, what did I do? I forgot. I tricked myself. I thought it was done. Oh, geez, here we go, guys. Sorry about the delay. Here we are. And they've been waiting a week for you to respond. So, are you a touch things once? If it's fileable, do you file it? If you need to do something with it, do you do something with it? If you need to be a creator and an author of a, really careful response, do you engage in that process or start it and set it up in drafts? But, what are you doing to touch things once? Because if you can touch things once, especially in that old mail scenario, right? We talked about that a number of weeks ago. You get the mail. I learned a long time ago from a buddy of mine. I said, dude, when you get the mail, how many people just look at, oh, yeah, great. Oh, yeah, okay, well, I'll tackle it later. No, just pick it up. If it's garbage, it's garbage. If you need to file it or pay the bill, pay it. Just take care of it. Don't touch things twice all the time. Same thing, maybe, so just ask yourself, are you a one-touch person or are you a multi-touch person? If you are not a multi-touch person, then how do you stay on top of the delay and answer later process? What's your personal operating procedures? How are you setting that up so you don't cost teammates and customers business and time, right? Time is money, so you know that drill. Do you have enough e-file cabinet set up to compartmentalize all the different topics? I mean, I'd say, especially if you're in sales, you got key customers. I'd have a key customer account for each one. I might have key customer accounts like I do. I've got key customer back order accounts, main accounts, individual accounts. I have one customer, I probably got 13, 14 buckets, 14 file cabinets set up for the company on different variables. Because we do that much business and there's that much activity, and I don't want to go hunting and pecking, through these things. I want to find an old email quickly and efficiently. So again, do you have enough of those set up, especially when you can do that in Outlook so proficiently? Are you a 4D administrator? And I got to give credit to my buddy Hal Moran, who's going to be a guest on this show coming up in the future. But Hal Moran mentioned this to me a number of weeks ago. I was with him and he said, oh yeah, I'm a 4D guy. Do, delete, delay, and delegate. Do, delete, delay, and delegate. And I said, wow, what's that? He explained it. I said, that is really cool. He goes, yeah, I've been living by that for years and years and years, and it's part of his whole lean approach. He's going to be in the studio with us in a couple months to talk about the lean process of management. Do you ever unhighlight that email and think you read it, right? We went over that. Do you keep endless amounts of read emails in your inbox for months or years? Now, I've run into a lot of people, and I'm just going to say that, sometimes they can be rough communicators. Things might not go smoothly all the time, and I'm just curious. I'm like, man, I just wonder, I just wonder if this person has 3758, 6,700 emails sitting in their inbox. And sure enough, you're working in the office, you kind of, you go over to their workstation, they grab something and you see it and you're like, wow. That's what I thought. I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I am in a way. I'm trying to find out what's this person make of, and especially with my lens, trying to talk about overlooked and ignored business principles. Is this person cleaning up those emails? So I was like that for, 10 years. Maybe even longer, 12 years. I was the guy that had 3,800 emails. I was the guy who missed on some occasions to respond when I should have. So it takes just a couple days to sit down, set up your file cabinets, and go through that list of 3,800 and get that thing sorted out. And ever since I did that, I am probably I probably never have more than 50 emails in my inbox. And if I was to go into it right now, I probably have 15. So I have it all, tucked away. And so when I get something fresh, it's pretty easy to see, especially on my phone. It's very easy to see and answer to it first. So again, just some things to think about there, right? Have you ever experienced a costly mistake or delay not managing your inbox properly? That's a question, it's worth thinking about. I'm sure you have. I'm sure everybody has. I know I have. And it's just one of those things that gets you to kind of think about the way you're doing things. And then do you save and file decision-oriented emails, both sent and received? A huge tip, just always do it. You always have that decision there. You can go back to it. If you get the decision over a text, I take a screenshot of it, email it to myself, and then I put that in one of their file cabinets. So I always have that decision right there in front of me that I never have to let go, and I can always bring it up should I need. And boy, oh boy, in my 35-year career, have I had to bring those up on occasion, dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So it's paid for itself, that whole personal operating procedure when it comes to that. So just some things to throw out. Promise you, I know I know the eyes roll that, oh my gosh, this guy's going to tell us how to do it. But no, I'm just asking you to think about how you approach the ARPA. Right. And, we'll put this in a blog. Those questions will be out there, but give it some thought. You might change one thing, two things that might really, help change the trajectory of your business or I'll tell you what it will do. It'll take some angst out of the business equation. It'll remove some unwanted anxiety because you're cleaning things up. You're filing things. You're touching things once. If you aspire to do things like that. So have some fun with it. Thanks for sticking with us. And great. Lost in the Shuffle track. Now, I've thought about this band. I'm like, why haven't we had this band on before? Well, I'll tell you what, you're in for a real treat because I dipped back into the archives and I pulled up about a 7.5-minute video. And we always put our music videos up to the upper right-hand portion of the screen as your visual screen. And unfortunately, it doesn't come up on listening platforms, but on the YouTube platform, you can find it up in the upper right-hand corner. When I mention the song, Matt puts it up there. And then you can click onto it and go to the YouTube video of that song. So this is a 7.5-minute gem that is from a BBC recording. And these guys were part of the British invasion. 2010, elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. One of their members famously left in the late 60s and went on to form a band called Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Ever heard of these guys? Yeah, Graham Nash. Well, Graham Nash, you trickle back. Graham Nash was a school buddy, a gentleman, I believe his name was Alan Clark, and they were primary school buddies. And they put a band together and had a couple different names of the band and finally settled on the Hollies. And if you've never heard the Hollies, you probably have and just never knew the name. So this 7-minute part is just great. These guys are awesome. 3-harmony band. Their 3-part vocal harmonies are just unbelievable. They pumped out hit after hit after hit. And we're going to treat you with this. And you're going to find Carrie Ann, Just One Look, Bus Stop, On a Carousel, and Sorry Suzanne tucked inside this little Lost in the Shuffle gem. So enjoy this, what they call Mersey beat sound. You're going to love it. It's great footage too of the late 60s. So Graham Nash is not on this because this was filmed in 1969. He was already with David Crosby's and Stephen Stills doing his thing on the West Coast. So anyway, we thank you for sticking with us. And we always say, right, just remember, if you want to change the results of your business, consider changing the how you do business, because the team of horses pulling the results cart, you guessed it, it's how. It's the perception team of horses. It's the customer experience that's pulling the results cart in a lot of ways. So we just invite you to think that way and come join us on our journey as we explore ways to create better customer experiences. And man, there is so much information out there. Citizen journalism, I've turned to it. I've turned off TV and cable news, and I've gone Citizen Journal. Now you're going to find some, find some things that are wrong. You're going to have to be discerning about it, but way better information than I've ever gotten from TV and cable news. So we invite you. We need truth tellers. Look at that, right? We need people to be truth tellers. We need you to carry that torch on into the future. We're done with the lies. We've heard enough. Done. So we invite you to be truth tellers and just turn on a podcast. Gosh, there's so many of us out there now doing this, tens of thousands, cool ones coming out every day. Your friends are probably doing them. Go enjoy one. And we just invite you to pick up a Bible full of great stories, read it, pray, and love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And guess what? 168 hours from now, we will see you again. Take care.